Who wants to talk about killer dolls? Child's Play remake. Let's do this. Child's Play stars Aubrey Plaza, Mark Hamill, and is directed by Lars Klevberg. What is up, guys? We got a new Child's Play movie, new Chucky movie. Before I get into this review, I want to tell you guys that I'm actually recording a spoiler review as well, so there will be a non-spoiler review right here, and then there will be the spoiler review, because if you remember, last year was the year of Halloween. That was my year. This year is the year of Chucky. That's Cody's year. No, but seriously, Cody's doing an amazing job. He loves the character Chucky so much. We joke about it all the time. I didn't tell him this yet, but I was going to tell him that I would give this movie a 3.4. That's an inside joke between me and him. He'll get a kick out of that. But seriously, though, I really like Chucky. When Chucky's on, Chucky is so great. We'll talk about Brad Dourif in this review a little bit, too, because Brad Dourif was the one thing that I was so afraid of with this movie. Like, how do you replace Brad Dourif? Even when they announced that Mark Hamill was going to be replacing him, I still was highly skeptical. I was pretty vocal about it on social media even, I think. I was still very interested in this remake once I saw the first trailer, because back when we did Scream Stream and we would talk about this remake all the time, it would just constantly pop up. And I remember one thing that I stated in there was like, what if they really just went for a straight up serious type of Chucky, you know, almost like robotic, very little verbiage. And it surprised me that that's kind of what they did. They didn't really go for the comedy aspect concerning the doll himself. You know, they put comedy in other sections of the movie, but they kept the doll pretty damn serious, actually. So a lot to discuss in this review, even though it's non-spoiler, but wow, interesting movie. And also, before I get into this, a few of my near and dear YouTube friends hated this movie. I even saw, like, Jason from Sinister Cinema Reviews, his Instagram post where he came out and he was just completely pissed off. And he said this, you know, I'm paraphrasing, but he thought the movie was a complete piece of crap. And, you know, we've talked to each other through direct message about movies in the past and stuff like that. But I didn't want to even, like, I wanted to get this review out just so he can see my thoughts on this movie. Because it's kind of fun, you know, we always, in the YouTube community, we always have like differing opinions and we don't hold back. You know, even me and Cody oftentimes go opposite of each other in terms of movies that we like. And I like that. I like that about the YouTube community. Everybody's really honest about what they feel about movies. And this is a very controversial movie for some reason, just because right from the get-go, Don Mancini pretty much separated himself from the project. He was so upset about the direction that they were taking this movie. And, you know, it just made for great headlines. And so I knew when this movie came out, there would be a great divide. And that's what happened. And I didn't really know which way I would go with it. I was scared that I was not going to like this movie just based on all the images of Chucky that we saw beforehand. And I think context is a big thing. And this movie is a representation of that more than any other movie I've ever seen. Watching the movie, letting the way Chucky looks unfold in front of you makes so much more sense than just seeing a few images pop out here and there, because those images were not flattering at all. I thought this Chucky looks ridiculous. After watching the movie, I was able to separate Child's Play, the original property, and really just enjoy this as a killer doll movie. That's what you need to know. Don't go into this movie, if you haven't seen it, as just a Child's Play or a Chucky movie. Go into it as a killer doll movie. And I've said this about like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. A lot of the mistakes that people make with that movie is they go in there and they're expecting a regular Michael Myers movie. It's not that at all. It's a completely different type of slasher movie. It just happens to have the Halloween name on it. So that's a great example to use in terms of this movie. If you can do that, if you're the type of moviegoer that can just suspend your disbelief, separate the original property, and give every movie its own voice, and this is the first movie in the remake series, because I'm pretty sure that they'll probably continue from this movie. I can't see why they wouldn't if this thing makes money. But yeah, it's somebody else's property. It's a new vision. And so this is the first movie of that vision. So you can either accept it or you can be butthurt about it because of what you know before. But in the end, is it a good movie? So I know that was a big little intro for you guys there, but quick plot synopsis. This really is the same type of plot as the original Child's Play. You know, Andy, he kind of becomes, I don't want to use the word obsessed, but he's very interested in the Buddy doll. And there's this new version that's coming out in a couple weeks called the Buddy 2. And so one of the customers returns the original Buddy. And so the mother, Karen, played by Aubrey Plaza, gets a good deal on that doll. She might have even gotten it for free for her son. And so when she gives it to her son, that was one thing that was interesting to me too, because the kid didn't freak out when he got the doll. You know, he said, "Oh, Mama, I think I'm a little bit too old." And I think that holds very true to today's children. They don't freak out when you give them toys like they did, like say when I was a kid, like in the 80s. You know, it's different now. And so this really has that modern stamp in terms of what kids, you know, their reactions to toys. I think it holds very true. But this particular Buddy doll is different because of something that we'll go over in the spoiler review, how he became this quote-unquote evil doll, even though he's not really evil. But it's an AI, and it learns from everything around it, and it's like obsessed with Andy. It wants to be friends with Andy. Because of every action that Andy takes, you know, taken out of context sometimes, Buddy sees it as face value. He's kind of like Drax in Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, he thinks that everything he sees is face value. And so it becomes a horrible nightmare, and it's really fun for the audience, or at least for this audience. And guys, right out the gate, I am so surprised that I loved the hell out of Child's Play. I did not expect to love this movie at all. I was right down the middle with it. I was pretty scared whether I was going to like it or not. But I was able to go in there with an open mind, you know. And I think it helps that I'm not such a diehard Chucky fan. But I was pleasantly surprised by, one, just the different direction that they took this. Because, guys, let's face it, there are some really shitty Child's Play movies out there. Seed of Chucky, to me, is one of the worst horror movies I've ever seen in my life. This is miles and miles and miles better than that movie and quite a few of the other Child's Play movies. I think, like Freddy, they got a little bit too crazy with the comedy in some aspects. So I like that in this movie they chose to go more in the direction of psychotic, serious horror, although there are some really funny moments in this movie, but they go with the flow of the movie. They don't like step outside of what's going on in the movie just to get a cheap laugh. No, every laugh in this movie plays into the scenes that happen before it. I will say, and I'm not going to go into too much detail about the kills, but I think the way the kills were handled in this movie were perfect. There's one kill in particular that is a major plot point to this movie. It really leads to what happens later in the movie. But in terms of like utilizing a kill and stretching out a kill and making the most of the kill, this one particular kill that's pretty early in the movie, I think, is done so well, because after the kill is over, then they take the aftermath of that kill and they keep utilizing it throughout the movie. And sometimes it makes for a horrific instance, and sometimes it makes for a hilarious instance. And I was quite surprised by that, because most horror movies, they don't do that. You know, you get the kill out of the way, you're done, and then you move on to the next kill. But no, this one really tied into the plot of the movie. Now, another thing I really loved about this movie is the characters. First off, Aubrey Plaza, who plays Andy's mom, she's so different than the way Katherine Hendricks played in the first movie, actually. And I think that's just a generational thing. She really represents, you know, the mothers of today. But we all know Aubrey Plaza. She's such an eccentric actress. Behind the camera and then out in her personal life. I've seen some like late night interviews with her, and she's always so odd and funny and charismatic, but just in a quirky way. And I thought she was the one casting that I was really excited about in this movie, and she delivered in every way, I think. She's got this boyfriend who I won't give too many details about because there is a major spoiler concerning that boyfriend. But I had a blast with their relationship and how it tied into Buddy. He's only called Chucky, I think, one time in the whole movie. But that relationship was huge in terms of payoff and the last act of the movie. Also, Gabriel Bateman, who plays Andy in this movie, I thought was really effective, actually. He plays it differently than Alex Vincent did in the original for many of the same reasons, I guess, that Catherine Hendricks did. But I like that he wasn't completely crazy about the doll, especially when he got it. But really, this whole story is on his shoulders. Everything that Chucky does throughout the rest of the movie is really Andy's fault. You know, Andy's knee-jerk reactions to things affect the way that Chucky reacts. And it makes for great drama and a great horror movie, really. Now, let's talk about Chucky. Mark Hamill, the one thing that I was really afraid of, I think played this role for this movie perfectly. I really do. I thought he was going to really ham it up and go way too far with the character, but no, he actually holds back quite a bit. Really focuses on who Chucky is as a character in this movie. He's very different than he was in the previous movies. This is a Chucky that is sometimes like you feel bad for him. You know, all he wants is Andy's love. And anybody that tries to hurt Andy, or more importantly, anybody that he thinks tries to hurt Andy, he will kill them because of what he's learned about death and killing. There's one scene in this movie that really pays homage to a horror icon that I was just eating up. As a matter of fact, Cody told me that when we were talking. He was like, there's one scene you're going to love just because of this certain movie that we're both big fans of. And that scene was so awesome. And more importantly, it plays into the plot of the movie. It plays into what Chucky learns as a result of watching this movie. And it's brilliant. And I will say, you know, I really want to foot stomp this to you guys, okay? This is a really scary, and if not scary to you, creepy Chucky movie. There are many times in the movie where Andy says, God, he's really creepy. And there's sometimes where Chucky makes these faces, and the way Mark Hamill delivers this performance that really just gets under your skin. It is really creepy. And that's exactly what I wanted in a Chucky movie. I wanted a killer doll that really got under my skin. And that's what they did in this movie. They chose to go the serious, dark, evil, cryptic route. And to me, that was exactly what I wanted because it was perfect. And I can't wait to dive more into all these little things that I love about this movie in my spoiler review. But for you guys, I just got to let you know, this movie fired on all cylinders for me. It shocked me how good it was. Are there any cons? You know, I've been thinking about it over the past couple days since I saw the movie. Yes, I guess there are a few little cons. I guess the doll could look a little bit better. But I think, you know, given that his eyes will change from blue to red to signify that he was going to, you know, be, I guess, evil Chucky. I thought that worked really well. So it's hard for me to find a lot of cons for this movie. I'm going to reserve my Trapped on an Island rating because I don't think it's quite there yet. It's not the best Chucky movie out of the bunch. I'd put a couple of the movies above it. As a matter of fact, I'm going to record a ranking too for you guys. But I will say, this really surprised me. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Definitely giving it a high purchase worthy. So, go see this movie. You might hate it. Because there's a lot of people out there right now that don't like it, but I loved it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. So anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Hi, I'm Chucky. Want to play?